Welcome to Crotoni Entertainment. I'm Chris, and I'm Bree. Now, Bree's not actually here with us tonight, but today we're going to be painting a Freeblades model. I know normally we do a Hero Quest model on Fridays. We did have to kind of make an audible on this one tonight. I didn't actually have time to finish the priming of the model that I wanted to do for Hero Quest. Due to just kind of a wacky in-house occurrence. Nothing major. Julian got an eraser stuck in his ear, and it kind of became a whole thing that threw the whole family out of whack for a couple of days. Not a big deal. It's been dealt with. But we're going to paint a Freeblades model today because I had this model built. I had him primed. I got him a while ago. So we're starting off with some Vallejo Silver. And I will say this. I'm not that impressed with this silver. This is part of the game color line. It's the plata or the silver. I love that all Vallejo paints are kind of multilingual. So we got our black Tumbler contrast paint going on next. Doing some boots on this guy. I do go back later and kind of do his... it was not his loincloth, but I guess it would be like his torn bottom tunic there, and then that headpiece he's got around his skull under the helmet. I do those in the Black Templar as well. I don't do that in this initial clip. I didn't plan on doing that until a little bit later when I decided to do it. But this is a Krayech's Reaper. I think it's pronounced Krayech's. This is from the Freeblades line by DGS Games. This is part of their Kandoran Death Masters, which is kind of like their de facto undead faction. It's a hybrid faction, which is kind of cool. So it's not just undead. There's living models and undead models. So you've got like this guy. He's one of the hero options available. And I don't know if we've really talked about kind of hero options and whatnot for Freeblades and whatnot. But in the meantime, we're doing some non-oil wash on all of the armor. Like I said, I don't know if we really talked about hero options. So the list building construction for for Freeblades is pretty simple. You get a leader, you get a caster, you get up to 4 heroes, and you get as many followers as you want, up to a maximum of 18 total models in your warband at 250 points. 250 is the basic standard size for Freeblades. There are some events that are popping up this year that are 275 just to shake things up. Your basic starter box is going to be 150 points of Freeblade stuff. And in that, you get a few less heroes than you do in the bigger games. But you get up to 4 heroes, and you can take each hero, you can duplicate them one time. So you could take 2 of these Krayech's Reapers in your Kandoran Deathmasters army. And these guys are pretty beefy. They've got high armor, they've got high life points, and that wicked halberd or glaive scythe type weapon he's holding there actually has the ability to sweep and hit multiple opponents at the same time, which is definitely a really cool thing. And I've said this several times while I'm painting Wraithbone on all the areas that basically aren't armor that I want to do in other colors, because we got the silver and the wash kind of on the areas we didn't necessarily want them to be on. We're just touching it back up with the Wraithbone. We're using the Wraithbone because I actually primed this one with a color called Heirloom White by Krayech, rather than the normal Perfect Gray that I normally use. I don't remember why I primed him this way. I primed this model, I don't even know how long ago. It's been a minute. So we're using Skeleton Horde to do the bones on him here. This was actually one of the stretch goals for a Kickstarter for Freeblades. I actually haven't really gotten too far into a Kandoran Deathmasters free band myself, but they've got some really, really cool options to them. So their leader is traditionally called the Oppressor, is what you're going to use for the most part. But there is a rule in this game called Alternate Leader, where you can take another hero and actually promote them to be your leader. It upgrades their stats a little bit. You can actually take a leader model and downgrade them to a hero, which will downgrade their stats a little bit. It adjusts their points appropriately. But if for whatever reason there's a leader of a faction you're not a big fan of, you don't necessarily have to make it your leader. You could do somebody else. I do believe with these Deathmasters you cannot make the Reaper a leader because he is undead, and I don't recall them being able to take an undead model as a leader. But your followers are super unique in this faction because you've got like a very anti-shooting spearman. He's got a Pavis with him, or a Pavis. I think it's pronounced Pavis. I could be wrong. We're gonna do a couple more colors here. As you see, we've got our contrast Blood Angels Red. I think that's the first one I used. Yeah, we're going to paint... nope, that's not the first one I used. We're actually using Gore-Grunter Fur, doing this kind of on the belt and the wrappings around the dagger. These models actually take really, really well to contrast paints because they have a lot of angular edges. They have a lot of crisp, defined transitions in the heights on these models because they are handmade metal sculpts rather than laser produced plastic, which kind of cuts down a lot of the Some people would say a lot of the more classic model design thing. I don't necessarily know if I've decided if one is better than the other for me, but I do kind of like this sharp transition on a model like this. So I'm a big fan of this style of creating miniatures because this is a white metal miniature. But in the follower section, you've got like a spearman with a pavis. So he's got an average defense, and his spear is pretty decent. But what's really cool is his defense is absurdly high. Against shooting because he's got that wicked huge shield. So he's great for taking your slower heroes and whatnot who maybe don't have really high armor. Like this guy here is armor 6, which is a really hard armor to crack in that game. But they can hide behind him and kind of let the arrows come in at that guy and probably not hit him while they move in. You've also got a human archer option, and then you've got something called a wretch, which is kind of like a graveyard scavenger dude who moves pretty quick. He's not super well armored, but he moves pretty quick, and it can actually grab up death tokens from the field and gain more life points, which is pretty awesome. And then there's zombies. They things are called shamblers in Freeblades, and as I throw paint here, use Pterodon turquoise because it's a cool color. Just I want to do it. So you can also get zombies in the game, and I think zombies count as like half a model each for purposes of free band construction. And then the Agaros Dune, that's going to be for the wrappings around his wrists. And like I said, these hold really well to contrast paints. And I know this video doesn't have probably a lot of the features that people were looking forward to on a Friday. It's not a Hero Quest thing, and Bree's not here. And let's be honest, I know that's the reason y'all are listening. It's not because I'm painting a miniature. It's because Bree is here and the color commentary and all that. And I apologize, I don't have great color commentary today because it is just me. So I'm going to continue to rant and rave about how much fun Freeblades is as a game, as you've seen me do in other Freeblades painting videos. Now, disappointingly for some, but not necessarily for all, I am not going to showcase a base on this miniature at the end of the video. And that's not for any other reason than I don't actually know how I want to base this model. So we're going to go ahead and skip out on that feature, and we'll maybe deal with that another time. We'll show you just kind of a base-specific video as we go forward. So why should you give Freeblades a try? Well, I mentioned before that the price point is excellent for getting into miniatures wargaming. They pride themselves big time on 2 people being able to get involved in the game for about $100, which will give you 2 starter boxes and the digital rulebook. Unfortunately, due to these wonderful COVID times, they are going to have a bit of a price increase on March 1st, but they're still going to be probably the cheapest, if not close to the cheapest wargame available on the market, which is still awesome. And they're keeping their starter box price increases minimal enough that you'll still be able to get 2 people playing with starter boxes for $100, which is fantastic. Because again, the starter boxes come with 150 points or gold crowns worth of figures, and your standard game is played between 250 and 275. So to kind of give you some perspective, a starter box is typically, and I think this is all of them, but I'm sure there's going to be an exception if I say it's all of them, but typically it's a leader, a caster, a pair of heroes, and a couple of followers. And I think I got that right. I think it's a pair of heroes. And most of your heroes come in the range of like 28 to 32, 33 gold. So kind of using that as a perspective, if you're getting 150 and you know you can get 2 more heroes at the 250 level, you know you're a starter box and 2 heroes away from having, 210, 215 points of guys already. Is it 2 heroes? It might be 1 hero box. If it's 1 hero box, that's actually even better for the starters because then you just grab 3 heroes and you're basically at your 250 right there. So incredibly cheap game. It is a skirmish game too, which are definitely popular games in the wargaming space now, especially if the analytics on our videos are correct. And the average age of our gamer is, I'm going to say, a little bit older. Really, the age bracket's not that old. It looks like the majority of our viewers fall in the 29 to 44 bracket, which is not old at all, especially by modern standards. But it can feel old as a gamer if you guys know what I'm talking about. And I know skirmish games fit in well with that more that older, more established gamer. A lot of us tend to have more stable careers. We tend to have families we have to deal with. We don't necessarily have time for a 6-hour marathon game with a couple hundred miniatures on the table anymore. And that's where a game like Freeblades really, really shines because it's a handful of minis on a smaller table. I mean, a 4x4 table is really easy to come by for almost everybody. It's got a huge variety of missions. You can play it cooperatively. You can play it competitively. You can play it campaign where you're gaining cool abilities that you wouldn't necessarily be regularly able to have. There's so much to it that fits the gamer niche, and it's the tiered dice system is phenomenal. I know I mentioned it before, where you get bigger dice if you're more skilled at certain things. So, like a leader with a melee weapon is going to be, a melee leader with a melee weapon is going to roll a 12-sided die to attack in melee, whereas like a little archer, an archer follower, who's one of your weakest models, 6-point archer versus a 30-something point leader. He's going to have a D4 is what he's going to roll. So, but to kind of balance it out, when you hit the highest number in a die, it spikes, and you get to roll it again and add it to your number. If you keep rolling that highest, you can go nuts. So while that leader only has a 1 in 12 chance of rolling that spike, that little piddly archer with the dagger has a 1 in 4 chance of rolling just a ridiculous, like, hey, I get to keep going and just go a little nuts here. And it's a lot of fun and a great thing to cheer when you see that little archer with a dagger just start stabbing the crap out of somebody with a really high number. So there's some RPG elements into it. If you're a D&D player, it's a good transition. The miniatures work well for that. If you're a skirmish tabletop wargame player, it's a good game for that. I mentioned before, the rulebook is perpetual when you have acquired it one time, and you can acquire it for free by playing a demo with one of the DGS Games questers, or with DGS Games themselves, typically at like a convention, or $10 if you just bought it from their website. All updates after that are 100% free. So it's a great game to put it in your back pocket and say, oh, I need 9 or 10 models maybe for a free band, and I have my rulebook digitally on my phone, and I carry this pack of D&D dice with me, and if I'm not playing my main game, I can throw down with little Freeblades. So give it a try. It's a great game. The Krayech Reaper is done. I'm actually going to show you 2 cool photos at the end of it. This is the same zoom and the same, pretty much the same angle, but I use 2 different backgrounds and the same light source. So look at what lighting can do to how your miniature looks at the end. Anyway, like and subscribe for more content. I apologize for not what we normally do. Hit the bell button for notifications, and we'll see you next time.